And then when I worked for Pixar, that was when I had to do the whole thing. I have to paint, I have to do all that. Yeah. And it took me a long time to get into Pixar because I kept getting rejected and over and over again. I said, no, I want to work for Pixar one day. So yeah. And so New Zealand, the Lord of the Ring, King Kong and Avatar. Yeah. To center.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome. I'm Andrea Park. I'm a mother, author, mindset coach, and mentor.
And I'm Alexa Dumitru. I'm her daughter, and I'm a New York-based fashion designer.
Welcome to How I Escaped Prison, a podcast where we share real stories of overcoming mental and emotional barriers. Join us as we explore challenges that life throws at us and how we found freedom by escaping the prisons of our own minds. Welcome. Today we have a special guest, Miss Chu Tang from California. We share so many things together, and she's so close to my heart. But I will let her introduce herself, and then I will tell you how we met. Hello. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's such an honor. And I think I came a long way to San Francisco. I was born in Cambodia, and then I also live in Vietnam, Malaysia, and also New Zealand, Canada. And I immigrated to the US 45 years ago, I think on the same day.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
one thing that connects us, the day we came to the United States, which is August 5th. Of course,
Yeah.
many years apart,
Uh-huh.
but it's the same date.
The
Yes.
same day, yeah. And I'm currently a health and wellness entrepreneur. I help people become healthier, with non-invasive health options. Yeah. Yeah.
So welcome. Again, it's a pleasure to have you here. And why I feel so connected to you is, first of all, we mentioned the August 5th date when we both share coming to this country. The second thing is you were my first podcast that I appeared on.
Oh, so honored.
And I was so stressed out that I could not even speak.
Oh,
So
really?
yes, and I'm grateful that you were patient with me.
I couldn't tell.
Yes, and the third thing I just found out reading your amazing book that we share birthdays. I'm September 6, you are September 4 by the lunar calendar. So that's another thing that it's connecting us. And although we have never met in person, I really feel connected to you.
Same here.
Thank you. So I would like to begin the podcast by asking you, since you are a wellness coach, how and if you realize that you are and you live in a mental prison?
That's a deep question. So I recently got out of the prison. For over 40 years, for over 40 years, I told myself that I could never write a book. Yeah, I could never write a book for over 40 years. And also the world would not be interested in my story. That's another mental block. And then because I got laid off in December 2022. And it opened a whole big world to me, like, okay, what should I do? Because I was working for a corporate for 33 years. And I was like, okay, what do I want to do in my life now, right? And I know that I didn't want to go back to corporate because I didn't want to get laid off again. And so I thought, okay, this is a time to live my life, doing what I love, right? So then I start, because of my whole, network business. So I started attending network event. And then I keep meeting published author. And I was like, wow, if they could write a book, I could too. And I guess it's important to be surrounded by people who are actually living your dream.
Yes.
And it's just the energy, and then more and more and more and more, and then of course the one that actually the real catalyst was when I met my coach, Len, and someone who totally believed in me. And so he invited me to be a contributing author for the Art of Connection. And it was just like one page, 225 words about gratitude, right? And then I still remember like, oh, no, I can't do it. And it took me like, oh my God, a long time. And then I keep saying, no, I can't do it. I cannot do it. And then finally I did it. And then I shared with, a few friends, and they have tears just reading my page. I said, oh my God, really? I could write? Yeah. And then I went back to that prison again. I said, no. I could write in one page, but not a whole book. And then another opportunity came, and this time is 1,500 words. It's about writing about a book that you read that changed your life. And of course, for me, that was the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, right? And so again, I was like, oh no. I get to the point that I was gonna just tell the main author, say, just it's a blank page. I cannot do it. And of course, a lot of struggle, and then finally I did it. And then again I shared with a few friends, and they were like, oh my God, there's so many stories that you need to share with the world. And about a month after that, that's when I start writing my book with my husband. Yeah. And that book, original title was Be Brave to Be Different. Yeah. I have a hardcover too. Yeah, Be Brave to Be Different. But then it was not getting anywhere, because again, it's just a whole bunch of struggle, self-doubt, and all that. And then we were on a road trip, and then one day my husband said, I have a title for your book. It's called I'm American Dream. I said, oh wow. It summarized the whole thing, right? My whole 45 years in US. And also the fact that he also walked alongside with me and then be the co-author. And we did it.
Yeah. How long it took you to write this?
Actually, less than 6 months, because I submitted my first contributing author piece, I think somewhere around like last year, and then the second piece, I think sometime around April. Yeah, but then I start working on this book 1st of January. But then of course I didn't do it religiously, so I kind of like went back and forth. So finally I did not stop writing, I think, from the last 2 months. So last 2 months, so from April to end of May. Yeah, that was when I really like writing it, and I couldn't believe that so many things I didn't know about myself. The whole thing is like a therapy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I read here, it's full of emotions when you talk about your grandmother's passing.
Yeah.
And I and how hard it was for you to remember and to write about it.
Yeah.
And when I wrote my book, it took me much longer than that, because every time I would sit down to write, all the emotions would come and I couldn't write. And but when I finished the book and I published the book, I felt that all that pain that was inside is now outside, and it's in the book
Yeah.
for people to read and process how everybody processes emotions, because we all have emotions and we all go through
Yeah.
tremendous experiences in life. And it's super interesting to read somebody else's experience.
Mm. Yeah, that was a
So
hard chapter to write about. Yeah.
yeah, tell us what from this book, which chapter or which story means most to you.
Actually, I really like the chapter about peonies and blossoms. Yeah, because I always want to be a fiction writer. And because my experience in visual effects, I see life in colors and shading, and I love movies, and that chapter was very satisfying. It was very satisfying. And also what got me really the final push to write my book was, from my heart, was my Uncle Vincent. You know, that chapter. Have you read that chapter yet?
No, I didn't get
Oh, okay,
there.
okay. I won't yeah. So at the end of the chapter, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then the chapter about my grandma, I think I want to reach out to the readers, because a lot of us went through that. And even we lost loved one, but it was never really completely healed. And yeah, and I think the whole grieving process it's just very short, right? You know, the funeral and all that is very short. Yeah.
And you have to get back to life. I mean, life doesn't stop.
I did it purposely. My editor actually, it reminded of her own grandma. And then she said, "Oh my gosh, you brought her back to life." I did it purposely.
Yeah, yeah. It's unfortunate that you're right. We all go through death of loved ones, and it's probably that's the reason why when I opened the book, I opened it there, and I stopped.
Oh,
Yes,
oh,
and I stopped to read it.
that's great. That's great, because each chapter is kind of meant to be a short story by itself.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And we lost 3 people in 2 years.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So
Yeah.
Alexa can share more about that.
Yeah, my grandmother passed away in 2021, then my grandpa a few months later, then my dad a few months after that.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so
So
sorry.
we know.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Yes, we know. We know. And it's yeah, it's unfortunate that we have to go through this, and it's something that um neither of us escape. I
No.
mean, it's death. It's something that,
The only thing that's certain in life.
yeah, and as painful as it is for everybody, we go through this. And
How do you find the chapter? Was it helpful or anything?
yes, definitely. And the emotions that you describe. And somehow grandparents that raised us, we are special for them and they are special for us.
Yeah, yeah.
When my grandmother passed away, I was 20 years old. And the emotions that you described here literally brought up my emotions that I had back then.
Mm.
So it took me a year and a half to go over her death.
Mm.
So yes, that chapter to me was really helpful and emotional.
Mm.
And I thank you for writing it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
And I'll read it next because now my interest is piqued.
Yes. So what strategies, if any, did you use to escape the mental prison that you realized you were in?
I think just be surrounded by people who believe in you, and that's very important. And I'm very fortunate that I have friends who believe in me, and also my spouse, my husband. Yeah, and I guess it's a unconditional gift. I mean, I just lucky to receive. And then another thing is that the strategy. Okay, so I have like because I used to work for Pixar, right? So I have my Pixar business card, and then I put it on the back, and then I wrote, I am the American Dream, which is the title of the book, October 2024. And that's the day that, because I'm actually meeting my friend Hager in Norway, and she's one of the first people that believe in me. And because I'm going to Norway and meeting her in October, and she looked at me, she said, Chu, you're going to, sign my book, right? A copy of your book. And I said, how could that be possible? That was a long time ago. So that's why I put October 2024. And I couldn't believe it. I got it done in July. Yeah. So the strategy is just looking at, envisioning it, and also just tell myself that I could do it, Yeah. Yeah. And also like, to me, I'm even though I don't get up early, but my inspiration is in the morning and also late at night to write. So I end up spending like 15 hours a day. Yeah. And once I'm in it, it's almost like on steroid or drug or something. I don't know. You can relate to it. And then I just write and write and write and write. Yeah. And it was just very satisfying. Yeah. It's the time that you find you're most inspired to write, because it's not like a regular job, which is make it hard, right? Because, I'm working on my second book, and I finally waited over a month to have inspiration.
Yes, but you, as you mentioned, as a visual artist, why don't you walk us a little bit and the listeners throughout your career and amazing works that you did?
Oh,
Because
Yes, please.
so many people know the amazing work that you did, but they just don't know that it was you behind it.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I went to college studying applied math, and then the career counselor actually told me that I won't get a job in math. But then I didn't believe her, right? So I end up becoming a programmer, and I find out that, what I learned in math, like how to break the problems into steps, also apply to programming. So I became a programmer, but I always loved photography. And I said, oh my God, my dream is become a cinematographer because I love Orson Welles movies, all the beautiful cinematography. And every time I get depressed, I go to the theater, watch, the movie. And I was like, oh my God, that's my therapy, right? And I said, oh, one day it will be so awesome. I could be a cinematographer. And then I watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I don't know if you remember. And I say, how could that animation, get in? and and of course I'm a big fan of Keanu Reeves, right? So he was doing Speed. And I said, how could that bus jump over the freeway? The freeway was not even completed. So then I applied for Sony Pictures Imageworks because the studio that make the visual effects for Speed. And I was very lucky. I got in. So my first credit was Ghost and the Darkness. It was about Michael Douglas and Val Kilmer. And
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, this is amazing. The Columbia lady, And I said, I cannot believe it. Yeah, but I'm still a programmer. Then become a production engineer. And then finally, when I moved to New Zealand, is when I get to work on the actual shot. So that was the Lord of the Ring. Yeah, that was the Lord of the Ring. Yeah. So I actually work on the actual shot. But then there was I still couldn't do the painting because it's the shading. You need someone to paint the texture to give me, fit it into the shader program and all that. And then when I worked for Pixar, that was when I had to do the whole thing. I have to paint, I have to do all that. Yeah. And it took me a long time to get into Pixar because I kept getting rejected and over and over again. I said, no, I want to work for Pixar one day. So yeah. And so New Zealand, the Lord of the Ring, King Kong and Avatar. Yeah. And so in my mind, it's like writing the book. Before I actually start writing the book, I have it visualized in my mind how I want to organize the book, how I want to write the chapter. And I found myself kind of like that too when I cook. So I used to cook for like a big family holiday all by myself, right? So before I actually go to the kitchen, I would visualize how I do things. And then by the time I execute it, it's really fast.
Yeah.
So I think this book
It's like Avatar.
Yeah. So Avatar was very challenging, right? Because
Avatar, by the way, is my favorite movies.
oh really?
One of my favorite movies. Yes.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so Avatar, the forest, it was very difficult. Yeah, because by then, there was no easy way to make it so photoreal. And then in New Zealand, there's no tropical plants and all that, right? Yeah, so yeah, I really enjoy it. And
It's all
the whole thing
visual effects.
is
Yeah.
teamwork too. Teamwork, I think the most important is you surround by people who believe in you, support you, and way smarter than you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what advice would you give people that they find themselves stuck in their minds? What advice would you give them to break free from their mind?
I would say do a prototype. And what I mean by prototype is when I wrote that one page for the art connection, it was about gratitude. So I did research and I just like I just kept writing and writing because you have to actually do it. You actually, even though it's not the final piece, you have to start doing it. So I ended up writing I think 10 pages or something, right? So it's kind of like my shadow writing. I'll collect, and then you eliminate what is not necessary. Yeah. So just take the step and do it, even though it's so uncomfortable. But you can tell yourself nobody's watching. It's just yourself. So if you write it, if your writing is not good, nobody's watching. But you have to go through the process. You have to start the process because if not, nothing gets done. Yeah. So that's what I mean by prototype, because in programming, when you face with a very difficult problem that people tell you, oh, it's impossible to solve, but if you could prototype it, then you could prove it's a proof of concept. Yeah.
One step at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you don't like what you wrote, just throw it in the garbage and start all over again.
Yeah, yeah. And then you will find that amazingly things start forming. Yeah. It's a weird process, but yeah, but it's art. Art is like that, right? When you before you create a sculpture, it's just a clay, right? A lump of clay. And then you have to, refine, and then masterpiece.
Yes, like Michelangelo said that he's not doing anything. He's just the sculpture, the art is there. He's just taking away pieces that are not supposed to be there.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah, it wasn't him. It was just there, and he just removed the extra pieces.
Wow, wow, wow. So motivational. Wow.
Yeah, so we have again, we learn new things every day and from various people, because learning from other people experiences is how we propels us further, because if we do it ourselves in trial and error, is taking us longer than if we learn from somebody else.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
All right, so questions? Do you have any questions?
Well, I guess, maybe one of these days I would like to invite you back for my podcast, but this time to talk about the mental prison.
Yes, of course. But tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Oh, my podcast right now is on hiatus because I'm focusing on the book. And when I return, like my podcast team was sharing a transformational moment in your life. And I think when I return, I'm going to change the theme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I think I'll pick it up next year. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So tell us where our listener can find you and give us some information about yourself.
Okay. So I have a website called allhealth.info, ALL health.info. And it has information about the events that I host before, the recording and pictures, and then who I am.
All right. Perfect. And everything is going to be in the description below.
Of course.
As you know, the main sponsor of this podcast is Alexa Dumitru Atelier. So all the clothing that we're wearing are handmade and designed from start to finish by Alexa. So please follow us.
Yes.
And for the listeners also, please subscribe and again follow us and ourselves and our guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that one. Yes.